What up, homies? So today I want to talk about speaking in a foreign language, speaking while you're learning a language like Mandarin Chinese, and why I don't think that it's the best way to learn. Sounds a little bit weird, but hear me out. I love speaking. I love using the language, speaking. I think it's a great way. It's really fun. I think it's a great motivator to help you keep going. I think it's a great way to consolidate what you've learned, but I think that speaking might not be the best way. And I think that, for example, if we look at listening, I think that listening is much better for learning, absorbing new words, new concepts, new 成语, new idioms. And I think speaking is a great avenue, a great tool for practicing and applying these things. And I don't think it's black and white. Obviously, you can do both in either cases. But I think that I've been thinking about this recently. And for example, a couple days ago, I spoke with a native Chinese speaker, Ben Lao Shi. He's a teacher. He's a Chinese teacher, and some of you guys may have seen my interview with him on my channel. And he said something that was pretty interesting that made me think about this. And he said that sometimes when he speaks with native speakers, when he speaks with learners of the language, he'll sort of, not consciously, but unconsciously, naturally dumb down some of the language. And not really dumb down, but just maybe simplify it. Not really use as many idioms or complex words, maybe not talk in a way in the same way that he would talk to his friends with, like not really with the same complexity. And I think that's a natural response. I think it's a normal response. I mean, just think about when you speak your native tongue, like English, and you're speaking with a child or a baby. Naturally, we're going to dumb down a little bit. We're going to simplify things so that the other person understands us better. And I think this is just a natural empathetic response because we want to communicate better. We're considering the other person. And so think about when you use your native tongue, your English, if you're speaking English and you speak with someone who is not a native speaker and maybe they're a learner of the language, they're learning English. And naturally, normally, I think about when I do this, normally I sort of dumb down or simplify my language. Like when I do language exchanges with someone who's learning English, naturally, normally, I don't speak with them in the same way that I would speak, with my friends. The same way I would speak with, my friends who are native English speakers. There's a lot of slang that is used. There's a lot of colloquialisms. There's a lot of nuances that sometimes it's a little hard to explain to a learner of the language. And sometimes I get lazy. And I think a lot of native speakers do too when they're speaking to me, for example, in Chinese. And I'm a learner of Chinese. I'm not a native speaker. And so this is just something that got me thinking. It made me realize that a lot of times when I speak with native speakers, I feel like, I understand a lot of what we're talking about. I'm feeling good. I'm like, man, this is so cool. I'm speaking with a native speaker. I can speak with a native speaker. But then I don't know if you guys notice or if you guys have experienced this, like sometimes when you speak with, a friend who's a native speaker and then they speak with their friends, it's like, and then you sometimes don't understand what they're saying. I've had this happen so many times to me, or like you hear them say a new word or something cool and you're like, wow, they speak with their friends completely differently than they speak with me. And so, I think this is just social roles in a bit, because, we all speak a little bit differently when we talk to different people. And it's only natural when you speak with a native speaker versus when you speak with someone who's learning the language, you're going to speak a little bit differently. And so I think this is just a good reminder just to be aware that when you're speaking with native speakers, oftentimes they are going to simplify the language. And so oftentimes you may not learn as much, or you may not pick up or absorb as many new words or words that they would normally use to speak when they're speaking with their native friends. So just don't, I guess the key is to not to think that when you're speaking with native speakers, it's always like this is a good representation of how native speakers normally speak. I think it's a good test, and I think it's kind of like graded readers. I think when you're learning initially as a beginner, this is a great thing. You want something that is graded towards your level. And so when you're speaking with a native speaker, when they simplify things, it's great. It's great. It's like training wheels, especially when you're early on, when you're a beginner. I think this is a great way to slowly to practice your speaking skills and your listening skills. But I think just don't be surprised when, for example, you speak with a native speaker who is not your teacher or who is not your language partner, that they use words or phrases that are above your level or that you don't understand. And that's natural, because your partners, your language partners, your language teachers, they're trying to help you, right? So they're going to simplify things a little bit. And so anyways, what am I trying to say? Speaking is still a great way. I love speaking. I love speaking with native speakers. It's really fun. It's really motivating. And I'm still going to do it. And it's not black and white. It's not like, you're not going to learn anything when you speak with native speakers. It's just that you should just be a little bit aware. And I think that this is why I love listening. Just not speaking, just listening to native speakers talk to their native friends, or listening to podcasts. This is why I love listening to podcasts with native speakers, because you really get to listen to all the little nuances that native speakers use, the phrases they love to use, the words that they may not necessarily say to you when you're speaking with them, just because they're trying to keep it simple. They're trying to ease the flow of communication. And so this is why I love podcasts. Highly recommend podcasts to get that natural native communication. And then speaking, I use speaking more as a fun way to express myself, to practice what I've learned, but I don't place too much emphasis or too much expectation on trying to learn new words or to pick up new phrases. I definitely do, but I find much more picking up new phrases and new words through listening to native speakers when they're speaking with other native speakers, like through podcasts or when I see my friends speaking to each other. Anyways, what do you guys think? Do you like to speak more, or do you like to listen more? What are your guys' thoughts on speaking versus listening for learning, picking up new words, and consolidation? Let me know in the comment section below. See you guys next time.